What if the next Lakers dynasty isn't just about landing star talent or orchestrating blockbuster moves, but about an unseen internal battle quietly unfolding beneath the surface? What if the very future of this purple and gold era hinges not on the obvious stars, but on a silent competition for the two-way wing spot that could redefine the defensive and offensive identity of this franchise? Welcome back to Lakers News Fan Report, where raw truth meets purple and gold passion. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss a second of this drama. Now let's dive deep, because while waves of excitement and headlines have been swallowed by the blockbuster signings of Marcus Smart and Adrien Ayton, there's been a subtle, almost disregarded underdog pulling beneath the roster, Jake Laravia. If you blinked, you might have missed how quietly impactful this young wing has become, especially in the aftermath of the Lakers' stumble with Dorian Finney-Smith last season, a moment when the team seemed to acknowledge, at least subconsciously, that their defensive frontline was in dire need of transformation. Laravia is not just a bench filler or a developmental afterthought. He represents perhaps the only two-way wing player on the current roster, with legitimate upside to grow into a true 3-and-D presence. Now, I'm not throwing out hyperbole. Jake Laravia isn't officially there yet, but the trajectory he's on may soon, maybe sooner than many expect, thrust him into a legitimate rotation battle with Rui Hachimura. The Lakers have long pegged Rui as their go-to two-way wing, the guy capable of bringing solid three-point shooting as well as some defensive grunt. Offensively, Hachimura delivers. Last season, he put up 13 points per game on 51% shooting from the field, a sharp 41.3% from beyond the arc on over 4 attempts per game, showing he can stretch the floor and contribute in the half-court just fine. But when you peel back the layers to defense, which has to be taken with all the weight it deserves in a championship quest, the cracks start to show. Hachimura is an impressive vertical athlete, no doubt, explosive, strong, and a force when running the floor north to south, yet the Achilles heel emerges in his lateral mobility. He's just not a gifted side-to-side mover, which in this league is lethal when it comes to perimeter defense. Being less capable in that realm means Hachimura's reliability and effectiveness guarding on the perimeter are questionable at best. This is not a condemnation of his effort. Rather, it is a reflection of a limit that may be structural and fundamental to his playing style. Now, shift the gaze over to Jake Laravia, who isn't a lockdown perimeter defender yet. That much is clear, but offers a tantalizing glimpse of more lateral agility and overall defensive upside. If he can develop that side-to-side quickness, if he can sharpen his defensive IQ and discipline while maintaining the offensive sprinkle of threes he already showed last season at 40.3%, well, then we might be staring down the beginning of a tectonic shift in the Lakers' wing rotation. Imagine a scenario where Laravia climbs the depth chart, grabbing minutes that Rui currently commands, not yet for starting minutes maybe, but in key rotation time that could influence game plans and ultimately outcomes. The stage is set for a three-way competition between Rui, Jake, and perhaps Jared Vanderbilt for those precious minutes at the wing. But today, the spotlight remains squarely on Laravia and Hachimura. These two embody the Lakers' urgent quest for a dependable two-way wing who can jolt the defense without sacrificing offensive spacing. Let's rewind and look at where this potential battle sprouts from. Last season, Laravia delivered roughly 7 points and 4 rebounds per game, but those raw numbers only scratched the surface. Dive into analytics, and Laravia posted a positive defensive box plus minus a plus 1.1, alongside a positive defensive estimated plus minus rating, signals of a player ascending defensively when given the opportunity. Contrast this with Hachimura's more mixed numbers, a defensive BPM at a scant plus 0.6 for the season, and a career defensive BPM sitting in the red at minus 1.1, coupled with an overall negative EPM estimated plus minus. Not exactly the defensive anchor you want during a playoff push. Now, Rui has shown flashes of being a better help-side defender, especially when playing power forward around the rim during stretches when LeBron wasn't on the court, which adds another layer to this narrative because LeBron's presence shifts the entire defensive scheme. The King, 40 going on 41, rarely chases shooters around the arc anymore. Instead, he conserves energy for those final, decisive moments, taking on the less glamorous but crucial role of guarding corner threes or rim-proximate threats. And that means that Rui doesn't get the luxury of playing his most natural position. He's forced into a wing defender role he clearly struggles with, tasked with chasing perimeter players side to side, the exact kind of defense where his skill set falters. It's a good problem to have. LeBron's adaptation is necessary, but it creates a vacuum of effective perimeter wing defense that no one else quite fills. Neither Austin Reeves nor Luka Doncic can plug this hole, and Adrian, while a beast inside, has no business covering wing shooters on the perimeter. So that defensive gap remains glaring and growing in urgency. Enter Laravia, whose defensive highlights last season were more than just flashes, they were statements. For example, take his chase down defense against former Memphis teammate Desmond Bane, where Rui struggles looping around screens and maintaining lateral positioning. Jake followed Bane with feet glued, forcing tough passes, and showing instincts that could blossom into something much more reliable. Add to that his feet switching onto Lamar Stevens midcourt, sticking with him relentlessly, never biting on fakes and forcing a turnover. Shows a level of defensive anticipation and motor that makes you say, wait, maybe this kid's got something. Laravia's style is unorthodox for a 6 feet 8 inches wing. A shooter guard's mobility and athleticism packed in a bigger frame. Unlike Hachimura's physical power forward approach, this different defensive profile means he matches well not just against smaller guards, but also against wing players who try to leverage size, evidenced by his body-up moments against a player like Jason Tatum. In fact, Laravia wasn't just holding ground with Tatum. He got a rare steal by getting his hand in the passing lane, an asset few wings can boast. Consistently. Sure, Laravia's aggressiveness in disrupting passing lanes occasionally leads to foul trouble, a discipline factor he must clean up. But his nearly 2 steals per 36 minutes last season compare favorably to Hachimura's numbers and suggest a defensive potential the Lakers haven't yet fully harnessed. And there's more. Laravia has tasted starting minutes, albeit limited to 6 games last year. But when given the keys, he averaged a staggering 21 points, 4 boards, and 3 assists per contest while heating up from deep at 44% on over 3 attempts a night. Adding a nearly 90% free throw percentage rounds out a shooting profile that screams 5-0 for 0-9-0 potential. That rare offensive efficiency combined with defensive promise the Lakers crave. Now consider this. If Laravia's development accelerates as hoped, he could be more than just a rotation piece. He could displace Hachimura or carve out a unique role, forcing the Lakers to rethink their roster. Logjam, that's attention worth savoring, because it's not just about competition, it's about survival. Competition breeds excellence for all the loyal fans hoping to see Hachimura hold his spot. No, the competition from Laravia could push Rui to refine his defense, sharpen his lateral quickness, and maybe evolve into the player this team desperately needs. They could even coexist alongside Finney Smith, who has proven to be a better 3-and-D alternative than Rui in some ways, while Laravia's length and developing defense might slide into the starting role eventually, giving the Lakers a flexibility and toughness on the wing we haven't seen in years. As someone who's rooted for this team through championship droughts, playoff heartbreaks, and franchise-defining moments, I look at this quiet battle brewing between Jake Laravia and Rui Hachimura and feel a pulse of hope mixed with anxiety. This isn't just about who gets minutes. It's about what kind of Lakers identity emerges from this crucible. Will it be a defense-first, versatile wing-driven squad able to stand toe-to-toe with the Warriors and Nuggets? Or will the team continue to rely on star power alone, hoping offseason additions fix structural issues that fester during crunch time? This battle is a microcosm of that larger gamble. So I ask you, Lakers Nation, what do you make of this unfolding story between Jake Laravia and Rui Hachimura? Is this a mere skirmish for minutes, or the spark of a new competitive edge that could carry the Lakers to a fresh dynasty? Could Laravia quietly be the missing piece nobody's talking about? Or will Rui rise to the occasion and silence the doubts? The stage is set for a contest as nuanced and thrilling as any championship series. Drop your take in the comments. I'll be reading everyone, because as a lifelong Lakers fan, I can't help but feel that sometimes the battles hardest to see are the ones that decide the fate of an empire. So is this the start of a new Lakers era, or the beginning of our unraveling? Listen up, Lakers Nation, because this isn't some quiet development you can sleep on. This is the kind of internal combat that decides legacies, fractures dynasties, or forges them into something immortal. Picture it, LeBron James, the king, who's beyond iconic, standing at the twilight of a career that's already rewritten the history books, watching this backcourt and wing rotation shape up like a battleground for his final coronation, or abrupt fading. The weight he's carrying on those broad shoulders, not just the physical wear, but the burden of legacy and the fierce desire to add one more ring, it's tied, stranger than it seems, to whether this Lakers roster can truly evolve defensively and embrace the kind of two-way toughness that has made every champion in history unbreakable. Because we've seen LeBron at his best when surrounded by players who accept that grit. And defense aren't optional, they're non-negotiable. Now imagine if Laravia can blossom into that role. Not just another cog, but a rugged, versatile wing that lets AD breathe easier on the block, allows LeBron to save his legs, and frees up players like Reeves and Finney-Smith to scramble knowing the team's perimeter won't get torched. And that defensive reliability? Picture it cracking open all kinds of new offensive schemes and lineups, where the Lakers can press, switch, and stifle game plans mid-series without LeBron having to hero ball every night like he's been forced to time and time again. But here's the kicker. If Laravia reveals himself as that missing defensive spark, what does that mean for Rui Hachimura's place in this equation? Rui came to LA with eyes full of promise, that smooth shooting stroke and a sneaky toughness. But the question hanging over him like a storm cloud is whether he can truly level up his defense enough to stay indispensable. Can he commit to reinventing himself when the clock is ticking fast and management isn't known for infinite patience? His struggle with lateral quickness isn't just a small footnote. It's a glaring vulnerability that opponents will exploit. In the playoffs, where one blown defensive rotation can end a season and crush a legacy. So we're caught in this high-wire drama, Laravia's emerging threat, Rui's defensive ceiling, and a Lakers front office that's been both notoriously patient and impatient in equal measure. And speaking of the front office, let's get real. Jeanie Buss and Rob Pelinka are steering this ship. But in a league swirling with billionaire owners ready to swoop in and shake up the power dynamics, what if a new figure shows up offering visions of gold-plated glory, but against the grain of Lakers tradition? Jeanie deserves credit for holding the franchise's soul firm. But the whispers of outside interference aren't just rumors. They're the tremors signaling a seismic shift in how this franchise could operate, pushing the team's culture toward either a new age of innovation or chaos. Could a billionaire disrupt the delicate balance Jeanie has preserved since Magic days, pushing for instant gratification over gradual build? And if that happens amid this internal rotation war on the wings, what kind of environment will it create? For Laravia, for Rui, for AD, and most of all, for LeBron, this isn't just roster chess. It's a test of the Lakers' enduring soul, the very spirit that powered Showtime in the 1980s, a time when defense and flair danced in perfect harmony, a time when the Lakers weren't just a team, but a movement. Fast forward to the early 2000s three-peat dynasty. That squad lived on relentless defensive discipline balanced flawlessly by Kobe's killer instinct and Shaq's dominance down low. We remember that era not just for trophies, but for the ferocity of that defensive identity that made opponents wilt. Then the 2010 revenge title that healed deep wounds, the silence after Kobe's retirement, the heartbreak of a post-Kobe Lakers limbo. These moments carved the franchise's psyche, and the bright, defiant surge of 2020's bubble championship was built on rugged versatility, defense, and sheer willpower. That halo shines even brighter with guys like Draymond Green and Andre Iguodala immortalized for defense, and that same hunger should pulse through today's Lakers wings. But here we are, years after the bubble title, staring into what might be the most pivotal transition since Magic, and Worthy sat down to forge the Showtime dream. And it's not just the Lakers across the West. The battlefield is fierce, unyielding, and evolving. The Warriors still loom, their dynasty wobbling but not broken, their Splash Brothers still stinging from deep, and their defense still formidable when healthy. Denver's stable juggernaut with Jaka commanding the paint and Murray slicing through defenses remains a constant threat. Phoenix's rising stars and the relentless Clippers look poised to exploit any Lakers wobble. The ripple effects of who claims this two-way wing spot aren't confined to LA. They send shockwaves through Western Conference strategies. Now imagine if Laravia blossoms into that defensive nightmare that frustrates Stephen Curry in crunch time or clamps down on Michael Porter Jr.'s light feet, allowing the Lakers to chase their eighth banner with a swagger that burns opponents' confidence to ash before the ball even tips. But what if the pressure breaks him, or the franchise mismanages the development, rushing the kid or not offering the right support? What if Rui pushed to the brink by Laravia's rise, morphs into a shutdown defender we didn't expect, reminding everyone that resilience defines champions. This isn't just about minutes, it's about identity, commitment, and sacrifice. And let's not forget the human side, LeBron's leadership. How he mentors or challenges these wings coming up behind him, knowing that when his era fades, one of them has to lead the way. Jared Vanderbilt's energy and grit complicate this. Dance further, a wild card known for his insane hustle and defense, threatening to commandeer minutes that once seemed locked for rivals. The chemistry between these personalities, battling not just for their spot, but for the very future of purple and gold greatness, fuels this simmering storm of possibility and danger. And somewhere deeper still is Bronny, the legacy spawn, the next generation staring up at this moment wondering if they're watching a dynasty that will rise again or crumble before our eyes. This battle on the wings is more than basketball. It's about what the Lakers stand for in the hearts of a city that demands glory, in the eyes of a fan base that lives and breathes purple and gold, like it's part of their DNA. Those loyal devotees who filled the bowl at crypto.com, those who roar at the bar, those who never let go during the darkest years, they understand this tension, this cocktail of hope and fear, as every shot clock winds down and every heart races on the bench. Lakers fans know that championships are won by those who answer the call when no one's watching. The forgotten battles, the quiet breakthroughs, the clutch stops, and the relentless persevering. So here's the raw truth I've got for you: this unfolding duel between Laravia and Hachimura, it isn't just a fight for minutes. It's a battlefield for the franchise's next great identity. And if that identity doesn't take shape soon, if the wings don't grow sharp enough, if the defense doesn't harden like iron, then even a god like LeBron can only carry so much before the whole kingdom starts crumbling. As a Laker till the day I die, here's what I see coming. The margins for success are razor thin. The internal battles as defining as any Game 7 with the clock expiring. Jake Laravia could be the diamond in the rough whose emergence reclaims Lakers' defensive pride and pushes us toward glory, or a spark that ignites a fire that burns out too quick. Rui might rise phoenix-like, forced by pressure and competition to reinvent himself into a defensive juggernaut, or he could falter, a reminder that raw talent alone isn't enough in this unforgiving league. But whatever the outcome, this is a storm you better be watching, because it will shape the final chapters of this precious LeBron era and beyond. Now I want to hear it from you. Drop your raw take below. Every true believer in purple and gold. Who wins this battle? Who carries the torch? And most importantly, what kind of Lakers team do you want to see walk out into that arena every single night? The clock's ticking, the stage is set, the future depends on this. What's your call?